Good afternoon, everybody. Wee Paddy from across the Shuck, and it's Veterans Day today. And at 11:11 this morning, I stood for the 2 minute silence and watched the buglers play on TV. And to me, as an ex-serviceman, it's a very poignant moment when you're standing in front of the poppy. It's I always have this. I was I suppose it's the Americans have got it. I was 12 years in the Royal Navy as a 12-year vet, as they call it, which I think is quite a nice way of putting it. I didn't see active service, although I was in during the Cold War, but not really what I would call active service. But I know a lot of people who did. I was in the Navy during the Falklands as well, and but I didn't see active service. And I remember as a young boy when that was taken off, a young man, I should say, that wanting to go to war for your country. And it was a want, and it was a very strong want. Now, as I've got older, that thought has become less and less, and that bravado and that has changed, you know what I mean? I'm glad I didn't have to go to war, because you don't just go to war. You go to war and you watch comrades killed, injured, maimed for life. And then you have the aftermath, PTSD, suicides. And I know how much suicide can affect the family, because I lost my son to suicide. So I can empathise with anybody whose veteran son, brother, anybody, husband, commits suicide. It's completely soul destroying with no answers and no end to the grief. I'm sorry to say, I wish I could say it was, but for me, it was no end. It's no end of grief. Hits me more times than others, but this is one of them times, because it relates. It's my way of, I suppose I can relate to losing somebody who's gone to war, or losing somebody because, excuse me, because of suicide. And so there's many reasons. Look, when you go around the towns or the pubs or shops and they get the tin rattlers coming in, and it's for veterans, and it's for all three services, put something in that tin. Put something in that tin, because that money helps families, kids who lost their fathers, veterans who are suffering badly with PTSD. Their lives have been destroyed, and all because they volunteered to go and fight for their country so that you can live free. And that goes back to all the wars. Do you know what I mean? And you know, it's even a time when, not to be angry at the enemy, most of the enemies we ever fight are young boys and girls who volunteered to do what their leaders asked them to do for their country. And when you're doing it for that reason, you're a soldier, you're a sailor, you're an airman, you're doing it for your country, for what you've been told is right. That's not always the truth, but a young boy doing his duty doesn't have that option. So it's for everybody, both sides of any wars. Wars are not good. They'll happen, and they'll always happen because they're human, but there's no good side to a war. There's no winning side to a war, I believe, in the long run. Because the soldiers, the footmen who are out there doing taking the battles, taking the scars, taking the bullets, taking death as part of their everyday life. I don't know. I am so proud of them, but it's life. And anyway, you can go out and get mollycoddling, and I think it's the bravado went when I lost my son. So to anybody out there, especially who has lost a family member, whoever they may be, my heart goes out to you today. Anyway, I thought I would talk today. This is sort of veteran related. This is Fun Night Friday, and I still entitled it Fun Night Friday because all servicemen cure fear, anxiety, anything with humour, sarcasm. That's my take on it. Most servicemen live on sarcasm and humour and just fun with the lads, fun with the boys, your brothers. So this knife came out about 5 years ago in Battle Box, but there's a veteran story to it. This knife was a custom design by Bryce Blades, um, and it was in battle box. There was only 6,000 of these made. They're numbered on the inside here, but number 1 to 1,000 that were sold. Now, I think they were from Bryce, they were $120. They were knocked down to $99 for this offer. And the first 1,000 knives sold by Battlebox, um, all that money was given to one veteran. I can't remember who it was. I don't even know if I ever seen it. Shame on me. But it was given to one veteran to help him, and they were picked at random. The people had sent in applications. People had voted for people to get it. I can't remember who done it. Maybe it's worth looking up. Um, but they were given that money to help them sort their lives out, to get back into some sort of normality after fighting for their country. And I thought that was fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. So if you happen to have got one of these, it was numbered from 2 to 1,000, I should say. Number one was a special draw they done. But all the money went to just one veteran that was handpicked for it. It's a cracking little knife. It's a friction folder based on the Higo Nakami. It's it's an integral. It's all one piece. Just a bit of folded metal, bit of cutout standoff. Gives it a bit of a look. Lovely little pad, which is how you secure the knife. Lovely bit of crosshatch cutting on it. It's not particularly sharp, but it'll hold your thumb there. And it's a nice little knife. There's a bit of a guard here, which is more that can be said for the Higo Nakami, which is absolutely lethal. Not the Vaseline factory sort of knife, but this is a lovely rendition of it. This is in copper, I believe, but it must be coated copper and it's D2, highly polished, which is always good for a knife that's corrosive or can corrode. I've had this I must have this 3 or 4 years, and I've never put anything on it. And there's not a spot on it, so I don't use it a whole lot. I used it at first for cutting a few things. Now it's just a piece that's in my collection. It was given to me by one of my subs, so it really is a special little piece. But the nice thing was that Battlebox at the time sold 999, and all the money was given to a veteran, and then the one that was number one was sold in a separate raffle. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know what they got for it, but I just thought this was the perfect little knife to bring out for Fun Knife Friday. It's a very simple little knife. The nice thing about this, you don't get blade wrap when you put it in, as you do with a Higo Nakami, although you can try and stop it with tightening the pivot, giving it a bit of a wrap. But this is lovely. It runs on a nice pivot, very smooth, and just a nice knife to use. It's a very simple, it's about 2 3/4 inches of hollow ground D2 steel. An absolutely beautiful knife, I have to say. Unusual. Yeah, is it worth $99? I don't know. I don't know. I'd say, it probably wouldn't be something, unless I was buying it for a veteran. It's maybe not something I would have gone. And if it's, if my sub bought it just to go towards that, or he just got it in Battlebox, who cares? Battlebox, not Battlebot, Battlebox. Who cares? It's a lovely little knife, and I thought it would be very apt for a Fun Knife Friday, just to show a knife that was a fun knife, but for a very special cause. And there's a Rough Rider brass knife, just to let you see. This is the cowboy knife with the lovely embossed scenes of the cowboys chasing steers. And that gives you a little comparison. So it is a little EDC knife, legal anywhere for being under 3 inches, non-locking, like this is. One of the best buys in the world. And that's my thing for Fun Knife Friday. And for all those veterans out there and ex-servicemen, I know you will be thinking today, but if you aren't an ex-serviceman, you aren't an family member of a serviceman, even, think of the ones who went before you and done it for you, because they weren't doing it for themselves. I don't believe anybody goes out and stands in the way of a bullet or a bomb for just themselves. They're doing it for their others, for their family. So Remember them. And when the tin rattlers come along, don't ignore it. Stick your hand in your pocket and stick a note in that tin. Not change, unless that's all you can afford, but stick a note in that tin. And support them in some way, because they need it. Believe me, they need it. So thank you very much. Sorry for the bit of a dour start, but today's a very poignant, sad day, and I think so. So we Paddy's away. Bye now.